Hey everybody, welcome to a Thursday Night Live. It has been a while since we've done these, life catching up with me, doing a bunch of other things, but I'm trying to get back into the groove, Thursdays, Wednesdays. Look man, they're just going to come out when they come out. That's the best I can give you. So let's see, so this week on the podcast, we have myself and Nate talking about the most recent changes to the military mottos. We are now What's Your Warrior? $4 billion went into What's Your Warrior, along with all of the nonsense that comes along with that, all of the regular ad campaigns that'll follow. I think it follows like a person who's in Camo, somebody who's in Intel, an Army sniper, and basically it's like, I don't know if you remember the old commercials where there's like some goofy documentary where they followed some soldiers when they went through like Fort Jackson back when like reality shows were really big. So it's kind of like that, except that they're like doing this follow along the troops and what the troops are doing. It's pretty fucking stupid, and basically Nate and I talk about not only how dumb it is, but like also like how many changes in the uh, the uh, the 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 mottos that we've had, like the ways to try to recruit people, and how like back pre 9/11 there wasn't a whole lot of it, and now it just seems like every 6 years it's just like fuck, the next generation of kids don't want to join this horrendous war and go do horrendous wars. What do we do? I don't know. Like last year it was Warriors Wanted, and now it's What's Your Warrior? And it seems like the army is going through a fucking existential crisis at this point, where they're just like, "What's your warrior? Are you a warrior? I don't know. Am I a warrior? Or any of us warriors? Like, just because we deploy, but we don't deploy and come back with a combat action badge, are any of us warriors? Who knows? I don't know. Probably not. But fuck it. Don't let that shit trip you up. At least that's what I would tell anybody who's in the Army. Unfortunately, nobody listens to me because I'm a reserve NCO. So, what else is happening? I just finished a reread of Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Still very much holds up. It's a very quick read. In that it's gripping, but it's not very complicated. It's not that long. I highly recommend if you've never read it, to read it, and go back. There's an interview I did with Joe Haldeman back in February of this year, where he and I talk about the book and talk about the current Forever Wars versus what he went through, which was Vietnam. And how these things all feel like forever wars. So that's a free episode. Highly recommend if you haven't listened to me talking to Joe Haldeman, going back and listening to that episode. Also recently, there's another book that a buddy of mine sent me, which is about sleep and the military. Looking forward to reading that. Might pick up another fluff book before I do that. I don't know if I'm ready to get into anything book-wise that's very serious. Video game, or actually, I'm sorry, bonus episode-wise, video games is what we're doing this time. Brock comes back on. He and I talk about Katamari Damacy, and we'll decide if it's fascist or not, which is not. But mostly, he and I just wanted to talk about how great of a fucking game that was. If you've never played that, like seriously, go out and pick that up on Steam. Like Katamari Reroll is on Steam. Basically, it's a remastered version of it. It is like the most zen game you will ever play. If you've never, basically, the king of all cosmos went on a bender and fucked up all of the constellations and the stars and disappeared the moon. And you, as the prince, the little 5 centimeter tall prince, you have to go and roll shit up into a ball and shoot it off into space. It is like I've yet to play a game that was as fun as Katamari. So, like I said, that's on Steam. It's like $15. It is well worth the $15, just as a game to sit and listen to and play. So, Brock and I talk about that, and he and I have already decided on the next video game that we're going to talk about, which is going to be BioShock. I never finished BioShock. I played BioShock Infinite all the way through, and I own BioShock and BioShock 2. I just never really got through them, just because at that time other things ended up catching my attention. So I'm going to do a full playthrough of BioShock. I'm not necessarily going to speed run it, but I'm just going to push right through it because I know it's like this whole like libertarian and Rindian jerk off fantasy. So some other things that I'm working on. We have the patches. If you haven't gotten these, so for you military folk, we have this, the Motrin and Water. If you are a Navy corpsman, we have some Navy ones coming, but also we still have No Step on Snake, and we have the I don't have one of the. It's probably up here somewhere. The Area 51 ones. Now, these are the only 3 patches that we have so far. We're going to be getting more. Pretty much every time we do a zine, I print a new patch, and then I always have them print like 100 extras. So we're going to be getting some more of those. Like I said, I have the ones for the Navy corpsman coming down. That's also a Motrin and Water one. But I'm going to have some non-military ones. I'm rotating a lot of different stuff in. I really want to do a lot more of these. And it's like, it's not that expensive to do patches. And then it's also not that like difficult for me to store them and send them out. So I'm going to be planning on doing a lot more of those. I might dig up some old Soviet designs and put those on patches too. I mean, they're Soviets, they're communists, right? They'd be okay with that, I'm sure. Let's see, what else? Oh, I am back into writing for, I've been pitching Task and Purpose again. It's been a while since I've done some writing. Currently, I have with them a thing about Millennium Challenge 2002, which is an episode that I've really been wanting to do with Joe Kasabian on the Lions Led by Donkeys podcast, his history podcast, which I highly recommend you listen to. Basically, he and I want to talk about Millennium Challenge 2002 because there's a lot of like things that basically it's the whole like before the invasion into Iraq in 2003, we did these huge war games in the Gulf states basically, and the big thing is that like there's this Marine general who was winning the war by sending like suicide boats at the fleet, and then they sunk the fleet, right? And they're like, oh no, you can't do that. You have to no. Basically, they notionally refloated the fleet, and we're like, okay, no suicide bomber boats. But here's the thing, like, and there's a lot of the whole like you can't you're stacking the deck against losing, and there are arguments that are for why you do that, and there are arguments as to that kind of go to like why that was really fucking stupid in a lot of different ways. So it's very back and forth. The more I dug into it, like that surface level kind of shit about it, it's very easy to be like, oh, of course the military would cheat to win at some war games. But there were reasons for it. Like they only had 2 weeks to do some wargaming. And really what they should have been wargaming is how to go into Iraq and deal with it. This is an extended insurgency, which is what we ended up with. Nobody was planning for that. It was all about like how can we shoot the enemy in the face in the most in the most correct way. So that's coming out. I'm also doing, I've also written, and on a bonus episode coming soon, there will be a thing me talking about Rambo. Now, if you are a member of the Patreon, you've already heard us do Is It Fascist episodes about about First Blood, which is Rambo 1, and First Blood Part 2, which is Rambo 2. So I don't know if you know Rambo, a new Rambo 5, Last Blood came out. And I went and saw that in theaters, and I was blown away by it, but not because it was a good movie, but because I had only seen Rambo 1 and 2, and Rambo 5 was so far removed from what those two movies were that I had to go back and watch 3 and 4, and like there was just all this shit percolating in my brain of just like, what the fuck is happening here? What is this like, movement of Rambo between 1982 up to 2019, So anyway, Nate and I are going to go over that because I have to really lay out some thoughts on that. But I also did write about 1,200 words on it, and honestly, I could probably flesh that out a little bit more. So I've got the MC 2002 Rambo. I'm going to do a thing. I'm probably going to write for them a thing about the new motto and how mottos have changed for the Army and everything. So there's a lot going on. It's been like this last month has been a little bit kind of slow for me because I've been reworking the website, hellofawaytodie.com. So we've completely redone that. We've got the shop open now. That's where I was talking, hellofawaytodie.com/shop, or just the regular website. You'll find it on there. There's a lot of changes that we've been doing and a lot of updates. And then Nate, came back to the States and was visiting family, so he and I really were working on stuff together. So it was kind of a downtime for us while he was on doing some vacationing, and I was just kind of prepping some other stuff. So but other than that, though, we have a lot. I have a lot planned. I have a lot working on. The next bonus actually should be a video bonus for Patreon people. About me talking about my hydroponic setup, not weed, U.S. government, not weed, I promise, just basil, mostly basil currently, and then like my setup in the basement obviously isn't set up right now because we're moving, but peppers and cucumbers and all that. But basically I just talk about like what my setup is, how aquaponics works, how hydroponics works. Just it's going to be a quick 12-15 minute long video. So look forward to that coming out pretty soon. I'm going to try to cut that all together this weekend. We'll release it out on Monday. But other than that, as always, thank you all for tuning in on this. Again, hopefully going to be getting back to this on a weekly basis again, but fucking who knows? Who knows, man? I'm still in this house. I haven't moved over to the other house, but the other house is being worked on because it had some shit that needed to be done to it before we move over. But we still haven't sold this one, so it's a whole thing. But we've got the shop open. We're still planning on the zine. If you want to jump in on the zine, that is going to be in December. At the $10 level, not only do you get the printed copy of the zine, but you will get the care package too, which is a patch, stickers, all kinds of good stuff. So a lot of stuff, coming up. I got a lot planned for working in November into December, and then kind of just taking it easy for a little bit, hopefully. But other than that, thank you all for jumping on. If you're watching live or if you're watching later on YouTube. We really appreciate you guys coming on, supporting us in whatever way that you can, and we will talk to you next week.